What is up, all you GBA type fans? We're here with the battle. So looking at Dan's team, definitely not surprised with some of his choices, but on the same token, I definitely see why he brought some of the things. Really happy I'm not seeing Chansey or Galvantula right now. Galvantula because it just stab can take on my team quite well, and I don't want sticky webs up. And then Chansey because the less I have to deal with a fat blob, the better. And I'll take that for what it is. So instead, in its place, he brought, Ferrothorn and Metacham. Totally expected Victini, totally expected Rotom. Dragalge, I don't really have a good switch in for, and same thing with Mega Altaria. But hey, I think I prepped damn well for this match, and I certainly think I created the best team I possibly could for Dan's team for this occasion. My team, the idea here is I'm going to lead with Cobalion regardless of what he leads with. Attempt to get rocks up, if not just Volt Switch out, and depending on what he leads with, whether it's Victini, Rotom, Ferrothorn, whatever, Cobalion allows me to get the pivot into the necessary mon to take on whatever it is he's leading with. Now, initially here, I'm going to go for Volt Switch, and I'm going to realize right off the bat, guess what? Rotom ain't scarfed. That is a huge thing. That means that this Rotom cannot create as much of a problem against this team because it means he can't Volt Switch a Hydro and get big damage off and outpace things like Starmie or Mega Aerodactyl. So instead, he actually goes for a Will-O-Wisp on my Machamp, and I think on his end, he's like, oh crap, because this is a Guts Machamp. And yes, even though Machamp is getting burned and is going to get residual damage down for the second week in a row, no big deal, because he has to make a prediction. Now, here, I'm expecting him to go into something like Mega Altaria, which he does, but on the same token, I'm like, there's no real downside with me going for knockoff. Should I have gone for Ice Punch, like the little voice in my head was telling me to do so? Yes, because this Mega Altaria would have been dead, super dead, but I ain't worried, because he's not Mega Evolved yet, and I'm not worried. So now he's going to make a really sick double. Solid play on his end. He goes into Victini expecting me to go out at Cobalion to kind of take on the Mega Altaria. Great play, but I'm going to pause real quick. Before we go ahead, I'd like to, just discuss for a second, if you will. Right now, my Cobalion is base 108 speed, Jolly max speed. His Victini, I don't know if it's scarfed yet. But if it is scarfed and he goes for V-Create and I go for Stone Edge and hit the Stone Edge, this Victini is dead. So you know what? I'm going to call Dan's bluff. And in doing so, I'm going to stay in and go for Stone Edge. Because that's my best play at the moment and gets necessary information. But we find out he is not scarfed. Now this means he could be banded. But with the Akaberry, this means that I get off. I did crit him. I'm sorry. I think I still could have 2-hit KO'd him. Or just that, actually the crit mattered because once I get rocks up, his Victini's dead. So I apologize for that. That did suck a lot. But I also got information there. Rome's not scarfed, Victini's not scarfed. That means that Mega Aerodactyl and Mamoswine are now unhampered in terms of speed, that I win that speed race with those mons. But he's going to go back into Rotom, and I got my rocks up for free. I'm going to go for Volt Switch and get out of here, and I'm going to attempt to go back to Machamp. Now, nothing else really wanted to take on Rotom outside of Machamp early, and I'm okay with that. Like I said last week, Machamp necessarily isn't the most... I'm not expecting Machamp to live the entire match. I just expect to get damage off when I necessarily need it. So right here, I believe that I know Machamp is going to die relatively soon. It's at low HP, just like last week, and you know what? We're going to take that for what it is. He's going to go for Hydro again. I figure I don't have any priority this week. If I had Bolt Punch, it would do like negligible damage anyway. Maybe if he missed the Hydro, you know what? I got a close combat. I get a knockoff off. What? No big deal. Machamp goes down. Still best case scenario for me here because this means I get to go into something for free and I get to attempt to take back some of the momentum that he is taking from me. So here, I am going to go into Cobalion. Believe I'm going to go for Stone Edge right here. Just to see how much damage this does to the Rotom. Kind of confirm that he's also physically defensive, as we see right here. Now, it would have been kind of shitty if he went for Will-O-Wisp here, but on the same token, he gets a crit. That sucked. Maybe Cobalion could have lived a little bit longer. It definitely could have, but this thing was my primary Altaria switch, or at least my Altaria sack at this point. Gonna go for Volt Switch here. His Ferrothorn is weaker. I'm not going to let it, get up hazards, but actually he's going to sack off his Victini here. Kind of unfortunate that I did get the crit Stone Edge, but if he had went for a V-Create or found out he was scarfed or whatever, or he just went for V-Create, off the bat and didn't overpredict and go for Bolt Strike, I think I could have stayed in again. I went for Stone Edge one more time. Not sure he had the best switch-ins. Obviously, he could have went to Rotom, but I could still get out of there, be faster, and go back into something accordingly. But that being said, no more. Not talking about that. Sacks off Victini, going to Ferrothorn. I'm not going to let this thing get off any hazards, any spikes, Stealth Rock, whatever, Leech Seed. He's going to go for Gyro Ball, going into Xatu. Now, Xatu is very important because this thing is a huge deterrent from his Ferrothorn getting up any sort of bullshit. Any Leech Seed, any Stealth Rock, none of it. Power Up does nothing, and his Gyro Ball is, I can take care of that, no problem. But I'm going to go for Thunder Wave here. I figured no matter what comes in, unless it's the Rotom, I can slow down, and we're in a good position, because that means that whatever does get T-Waved has a chance of getting, obviously, fully paired, which puts me in a better position. But he actually brings in the Mega Altaria, and here, yes, he could have switched out. He could have got the Natural Cure, but I think it was in his best interest to attempt to go for the Return, Hyper Voice, whatever he wanted to do. But I'm just going to right here, I'm going to go for Side Shock. I'm going to attempt to knock it out. I think from the calc, yeah, it shows that it knocked it out. I went for it. I think it was between 29 and 33%. I think he was at 24%. So it was a knockout, and I did put the proper amount of investment in my special attack for this Xatu. So that's two of his main sweepers down. You are showing me right now that his best offensive mon right now, is I'm looking at it, is Dragalge. Knocked out the Mega Altaria, knocked out the Victini in one way or another, but hey, I ain't complaining whatsoever. He's going to knock me out Dragon Pulse with Dragalge. No big deal. I'd rather get the free switch into whatever I need anyway, which in this case is probably going to be Mamoswine. And I have options here. He does have a Rotom, so if I lock myself, which he doesn't know I have yet, if I lock myself into Earthquake, he's going to go into the Rotom or the Ferrothorn. So instead I go for knock off the Draco play. He's going to knock me out. Kind of no prediction on my end, and that was super shitty. I was like, I can't believe I over-predicted. Like, when he stayed in and I knocked off, I was like, damn, I should have went for just the Icicle Crash, got the clean KO, wouldn't have lost Mamoswine. But on the same token, I'm not exactly worried, because his Medicham could have Bullet Punch or High Jump Kick, and it wouldn't have outsped me, but the Bullet Punch would have been a lot of damage. I don't think I would have been able to necessarily knock out the Rotom with my set. I would have had to force myself a knockoff, which I'm going to Ferrothorn. Iron Barbs, you get the whole gist. I'm not going to do that over and over and over because it's stupid. Xatu is my switch in for Ferrothorn regardless. So, go for Side Shock, knock out the Dragalge, another throw out of the way. So you're telling me that 3 of his main primetime hitters are down. His best offensive mon right now is Medicham. Wow. This match is going so much better than I expected. There was so many options that went through my mind of things he can do, ways he can take on my threats or his threats, but I think the way that I'm putting on my offense to his, it's going well. It's going real well. Right now I'm going to go into Xatu, and I'm going to attempt to go for the Heat Wave in case he stayed in with Ferrothorn. Just in case we have a Gyro Ball, not going to over-predict here. Goes into his Rotom. It doesn't do that much damage. Ain't no big thing. I'm not worried, because here, I think I'm going to attempt to make the switch out. I believe right now I'm going to go into, I think it's Starmie, right? And, yep, I'm going to go into Starmie. Now, the whole thing here is, if he goes for Volt Switch, the next turn, I outspeed him, right? If he goes for Pain Split, no big deal. I think he was just trying to get some HP back up on from the Xatu, maybe level me with him. But this right here is key, and I'll tell you why in 1 second. My last move on Starmie is Toxic, right? My 3 other moves can't really touch this Rotom. It's physically defensive. Side Shock's not going to do that much. Scald, Ice Beam, obviously resisted. Not going to bank on burns here. Side Shock, I'm not letting this Starmie go down for no reason, just to let him take a little bit of damage from a Expert Belt Starmie. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a Foresight play. And I'm going to explain this so that people who are watching kind of understand where my mind was at this point. I think I let the clock wind down to about 6 or so seconds, and I'm thinking to myself, what's my best play here? Can I switch? No, because the things that I have left, I absolutely need. Xatu, I need Starmie, maybe Expendable, and Mega Aerodactyl. No way in hell I'm bringing this in on a Rotom. I cannot touch it, and at its HP currently, it's just going to knock me out with either of its stabs, because that's what this Rotom is causing right now. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go for my last move that I know was important. I hit the Toxic. That's important. But I go for the Toxic for the idea that if he's not running any speed on his Rotom for later on in the match, Xatu can effectively take on this Rotom. We'll see if that pans out, but I felt at this moment the Toxic was most important move because of the fact that later on, this Rotom could be a problem, but if it's on a timer, not necessarily a problem if I can necessarily take it out in time. Let the Toxic do my job for me, where just blindly hitting a wall as good as Rotom with Starmie Side Shocks are not going to do the job. We see the Medicham knocks me out with Bullet Punch. This is time for me to go into Mega Aerodactyl. I'm going to Mega Evolve. I'm going to go right for Aerial Ace. He can go for Bullet Punch. It's not going to knock me out because I am at full. No rocks damage, no nothing. Worst thing he can do is crit me, but I don't think that's going to knock me out based on my HP investment. I'm going to go right for Aerial Ace. Apparently he didn't want to go for the Bullet Punch. I believe afterwards he said to himself, oh crap, it does get Aerial Ace, and I outpaced because he wasn't scarfed. Even if he was scarfed, I would have outpaced based on my speed investment. Obviously, assuming he didn't go for Bullet Punch. Here I'm going to go for Aerial Ace again. I'm going to let him knock me out to the Gyro Balls. Obviously I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to get the Iron Barbs. But he has Rotom and Ferrothorn left, right? And I have Mega Aerodactyl as well as Xatu left. Now I'm just going to have Xatu left. So it's Xatu taking on 2 walls, one of which can hit me super effectively, but it's also on a timer. So I'm going to go to Xatu. He can only go, I predict him here to go into Rotom, but I'll let Mega Aerodactyl get a little bit of damage off on this Ferrothorn. We never saw leftovers, so he can't, continually recover health, and he can't Leech Seed me, and there's no way that he can get HP back, so I'm going to basically right here just attempt to knock him out. But we see the Akaberry, and that's great on him for having that planning. I mean, I should have expected that. Actually, I kind of expected Chople, because I almost expected it for maybe for Close Combat or Dynamic Punch from a champ, or even, Superpower. But I live on 2 on that Gyro Ball. That calc was so, I don't know, that was like a mid-roll. But, oh man, I'm so shocked I lived that. That was the game right there. If he got that little bit of points up and he, knocked me out. Oh man, but that's where like my investment came in. I put in 4 defense EVs. I pumped up my HP a little more, so I only had to outpace the Hitmontop. And I'm very glad to do so, because right now we outspeed the Rotom. We outspeed the freaking Rotom. So the only way that he beats me is if he crits me with Hydro Pump or Volt Switch. Well, not Volt Switch, but if I somehow screw up my button clicking and I don't roost when he Volt Switches or he crits me with Hydro Pump, I won, because the leftovers are going to eventually be negated by the Toxic. The Toxic is eventually going to, knock him out. And Xatu is going to clutch out the game, assuming nothing catastrophic happens right here. Listen, this part's going to be boring, but I'm going to try and explain my way through this. I think strategically, I let the things I needed die to get to this point. He goes for Hydro, and I was like, oh no, it's a crit! Oh my god, again. 12 SPDF investment in this thing to live. I've lived on 2 and I lived on 8. Xatu, you're doing it for me, man. You're living, and that was a clutch live right there. I mean, the crit, I expected it to happen at one point. The only way he can beat me again right here is if he crits me again. But he has to keep hitting these Hydros. He has to. I go up and I get my HP back. He goes for Hydro, and I'm like, please don't crit, please don't crit, please don't crit, please don't crit, please. Ooh, no, he doesn't crit. And right here, I'm seeing that I'm gaining HP back. I'm gaining HP back slowly. Assuming he doesn't crit me in the next, 4 turns, I've won. Back to what I was saying, though. I strategically let Mons die to get me to this point. Xatu versus Rotom, you would never expect to be a matchup that... Right now, Xatu is winning because of a setup Toxic from a Starmie, which, again, is something that you're never going to see outside of regular League play. Right there, he misses that Hydro. That's where I won the match. It's unfortunate that he came down to the Hydro missing, but I mean, it's kind of the cost that you take with having a Hydro. And if anyone who's salty that, the crit Stone Edge or the miss Hydro, I apologize. But that's just how the rolls work. I could have missed the Stone Edge. I could have not crit, but I don't think it really would have mattered in the long run. Mostly because the Cobalion did outspeed, so did Mamoswine, so did Starmie. That once we found out that Victini didn't outspeed my Cobalion. Oh, Mega Aerodactyl, that's better too. And then, he crit me with the Volt Switch. My champ didn't live that long, no big deal. But this Xatu, I think, is the MVP of this match. It lived when it needed to. It took on this Rotom effectively. Right here I could go for Side Shock, but there is no freaking way I'm taking that kill away from Starmie. Starmie facilitated this kill right here. Starmie was the reason that I was able to knock out this Rotom the way that I did. He misses that last Hydro, doesn't matter because he wouldn't kill me. I was at full, and the Toxic's going to knock out this Rotom. And holy Christ, we just won our first match. I just won my first match since week 1. I've lost all 4 weeks of the CCL. 4 weeks, 8 weeks of the CCL. I've lost now 3 weeks of the GBA. It's 11 lost, league matches, right? But that doesn't matter because the curse is broken. Also, I beat Dan. I beat the champion of last season, and I'm super amped. That was, you know what? Comments can tell me whatever they want. I hope the analysts get what they want out of this match. I'm relatively proud of the way I planned. I'm relatively proud of how I set up the sets for this week, the speed, the pressure. Yes, I let things die. It's a 1-0. It's nothing to go right home about. It's just a 1-0, but it's a victory. And it's the first victory of the season. And it's not the last because I plan on stacking these wins up so that I become a force to mess with in this league. So I'm so happy, honestly. I couldn't be more over the moon that I got this first victory. To my lovely fans out there, thank you for picking me. To the people who picked against me or told me I'll never beat Dan, kindly go suck a dick. Especially whoever, like Corball, whatever the hell your last name is. And whatever the guy who in the Bold Predictions video said I wouldn't beat Dan, kindly go suck it. But, gently. Or however you like it. I don't really care. But I beat him. And shout outs to Dan. Fantastic battler. I really hope I play him again in the playoffs. Next time I will play him. And I hope that every match like this is just as exciting. Our match versus George was awesome. This match was awesome. And I hope that, you guys continually get this type of quality from me as a battler. I want to impress you guys every week. I want to continue showing you and the analysts and every other coach that I am a force to be reckoned with. I'm not an easy win. I'm not a gimme on your schedule. You think that, you will lose. All right? I'm here to show you guys that I am not some scrub, some analyst who can run his mouth and not back it up. We're here to win. We're here to play. We're going to do that. All right? To any person who doubts that, bring it. I'm going to show up every week. You got that? Good. We're here. Next week, we got John, I think. Might be John or Envy. I'm not quite sure. But next week, we're bringing our A game. Every week, we're bringing our A game. 1 and 3, that means nothing. We drop 3, we're going to drop another 3. Next week, I hope you guys enjoy. Keep your comments coming. I love talking to you guys. And that being said, I'll see you guys soon. Later.